Welcome to this video, round 3 of the Norway 2013 Super Tournament. And let's start right with the first game. I'll cover, as I did before in the first two videos, all 5 games. And the first one here, Svidler against Aronian, is honestly speaking not that interesting, so I'm doing this rather quickly. We have an English opening here, reversed Sicilian. Svidler playing all kinds of openings nowadays, not only 1e4. He's much less predictable. And we got, as mentioned, this sort of reversed dragon. This, in fact, is a rather solid way to play for both sides. In fact, this dragon setup for white is it's quite like the accelerated dragon, and the way it is played, black cannot really go for a long castle setup as it is usual in the Yugoslav attack. So quite normal is something like this, where black places his pieces classically in the center. And he's got everything nicely centralized, but it's not easy for black to find some concrete way to play. He's mostly solid in the center and centralizes his pieces. And what white is trying to do is maybe go b5 and rest the knight on c6. b7 is a point that he can attack, and there's also this knight to c5 maneuver. In the game we see some of those ideas realized. Knight d4 is a very typical way to play. Black wants to play the c6 move that blunts the bishop. And white is, as mentioned, on the way to put some piece on c5. The knight specifically. Okay, black needs to cover it. And this is in fact an interesting idea with d4. White breaks in the center immediately. It has got a tactical justification. Black cannot really take this pawn. He's for certain cannot take it this way, because bishop f4 is now very strong. It attacks the rook, and on a rook move here, knight b7 is in fact very, very bad for black. You give the pawn back and white has an enormous position. And of course you cannot go here because this piece is hanging. Maybe queen d4 is possible. It also doesn't look too great at first, but the computer actually believes that black can sacrifice an exchange here. Quite remarkable. You'll get the pawn here. But it's pretty clear that Aronian is not playing for such kind of things, especially considering that black has got those normal kind of moves where you just have a decent position. It's not clear what white is supposed to do here. He's got a nice knight on c5, but how exactly increase the pressure in the game?
Check.
Svidler tried with this, playing for b5, but black is fairly well coordinated, so it's nothing's too special happening. In this position, knight e4 was played. I think it's very likely that that queen b3 was a bit tougher to defend. Say here, and in this position there's still a bit of pressure. I think white basically won the tempo in this way. An interesting fact is, after king h8, that white really has a good position by means of the strange looking move bishop e4. This is suggested by the computer, of course. It looks very unhuman to me, this move, but it seems to be strong. White intends to take and damage the pawn structure, and what's really remarkable is that taking on e4 after knight 5 takes e4 is really tricky. White now threatens to take here and to take on c6 followed by a5. And in fact this position is not even defensible for black. It's really bad. I mean, it's remarkable how bad this position is. But it is a fact. It's basically not possible anymore to defend it. Just a quick example. If you take here, there's this even, maybe even stronger, because knight b5. There's bishop f4, and black loses instantly. Oh yeah, this is a remarkable line. Bishop e4 is really a counterintuitive move, at least for a human. I would probably never consider this move. Only knight moves to e4. Okay, but black should probably play this anyway and continue with this position, where white is probably somewhat better, but it's not like black is in super big danger. Yeah, in the game this was played. White still looks nice, but maybe it's nothing substantial really.
Check. Check.
This is how it proceeded, and after this move a draw was agreed. A bit surprising to me actually, because I would think that black still needs to find some moves. It's not super difficult, but you can try. For example, here knight takes, and now yeah, I guess rook takes, and this at the end is okay for black, but it looks a bit shaky. I'm relatively sure I wouldn't have offered a draw with a5. I would have thought that maybe I can try a bit, but okay, I'm a natural optimist, and Swidler probably isn't. I don't know, probably it is a draw, but I was a bit surprised that they actually agreed to this draw in this position. Alright, so let's go to the next game. Just need to pull it up here. Yeah, Nakamura against Carlsen, certainly the game of the round on paper. The world #1 playing black, and the fan favorite Nakamura, known for his spectacular style and sometimes questionable behavior online. Is playing white. Okay, so no surprise, but this is a surprise. Nakamura playing the Vienna. It's a very rare guest at top level chess. It's basically never played, and Carlsen actually surprises with playing knight c6. It's this is not played that often. The usual response is knight f6. The idea is to answer f4 with d5. However, in this line, Nakamura actually had played a couple of really weird games. I think he had played this twice, if I'm not mistaken. He had played this before. I need to be cautious now. Yeah, this. Yeah, exactly. This kind of stuff.
Check.
This he had played in a US championship game, I think against Onishuk. It looks completely ridiculous, but it's not a bad line for white. It's quite interesting. Nothing that black needs to be afraid of, but I don't know, maybe Carlsen wanted to avoid this and went knight c6. It's not a bad move anyway, but it's not so popular. And bishop c4. One drawback of knight c6 is that now actually this f4 move is more interesting, because now of course d5 is not playable so quickly. Here black basically needs to take it, and will get a very King's Gambit like position where those two knight moves have been inserted. But okay, this wasn't Nakamura's intention. He played bishop c4. And this, in fact, also quite often arises from two bishop c4, the bishop's game. Okay, all normal. Knight f6, d3. Yeah, and here is a big parting of the ways. Here black has got various moves. A very reliable move that I usually play here if I reach this position. I sometimes do, mostly by accident. I play something else normally, and this is also in my repertoire series for black against the Vienna and the bishop's game. If you want to look that up, my recommendation there is knight f6, bishop c4, bishop c5. This is my recommendation in the video series. The idea being to play with c6 and d5, so not with the knight on c6. Okay, but I'm getting far away from the game. In the game we had this, and yeah, well, bishop b4 is a solid move, bishop c5 is a move, but the main move nowadays is knight to a5, and this is what Carlsen played. It's a bit strange to see the knight on the rim, but okay, the bishop pair is worth something. Black wants to get the bishop. Knight e2. What's actually interesting is that Carlsen doesn't take on c4 quickly. He waits up to a point where he really wants to take. Nakamura now played f4, which I find slightly surprising, I must admit. I have seen quite a number of games in this structure, and what I always considered to be quite okay for white is a move like a4 here, where you in some way threaten to retreat the bishop, and now black probably will take. And now this kind of position I have played numerous times, mostly in blitz chess, where white goes b3, bishop a3, queen d3, rook d1, and so on. And it's very solid for white, and it's hard to see or hard to imagine how white is going to be any worse in this structure. He's got nice pieces, and black's bishops are not so dangerous. This is what I expected, but Nakamura went f4, and this is more aggressive but also slightly risky, because after takes, if you look at this, you see that the e4 pawn is a weakness now. In the other structure, the pawn can go to f3 to support e4, and now this e4 pawn is a liability. King h1, getting out of the diagonal castles, and f5. This obviously was the idea that Nakamura had with the setup. It prevents black's normal development, and maybe even prepares some pawn storm. I mean, on a very good day you might be able to play g4, g5, but here Magnus came up with I think very strong reply. Played the move b5, and according to wow, he did this instantly. Probably had planned this beforehand. Yeah, b5 is really a strong move. The idea is revealed after white captures, and there's no real alternative. White cannot really allow black to take, or b4 is also threatening, so takes. And now d5. This was the idea, very strong. Black takes over in the center now. He's got very nicely positioned pawns, and it gets somewhat tricky for white now. I think he needs to do this. It's not much choice. If you take on c6, for example, there's the move d4, attacking the knight. Something like this, for example. It's excellent for black. You will very likely get the e4 pawn back. There's also bishop b7 to increase the pressure on this pawn. And then you have two bishops, the space advantage, and what exactly is this knight doing? So this is very, very good for black. I think white needs to do that. And now I think what Nakamura played also is necessary. Bishop to g5. Trying to get some pressure on this pawn and make sure that this pawn formation resolves in the center. Bishop b7 and knight g3. Yeah, this intends to go to h5. So let's have a look at this position. Black's got the two bishops. He's got an excellent pawn center, but he's a pawn down. So my assessment would be that black is yeah, very comfortable. He's got probably more than enough compensation, but it's not like you can easily pinpoint how to increase it. Let's look at what happened in the game. Rook d8, knight h5. Yeah, this is of course a good idea. Get rid of the knight and make sure one bishop gets exchanged. Yeah, and Carlsen reacted with e4, which is a strong move. It prepares to play d4. You didn't want to play d4 immediately because it surrenders the e4 square. Now the knight is very nicely placed, and black wants to play this and then play d4 when this knight needs to go on the side, on some square it didn't really want to go to. And now Nakamura defends nicely. I think he takes and plays knight a4. A move that at first surprised me a little. Why put it on the edge of the board? But okay, there's knight c5 as a possibility. And there's also ideas with c3, queen e3, and just block this pawn on d5. If you look at the game, Magnus played bishop a8, c3. Now white is really threatening a move like rook d4, blocking the pawn, and then it's just an extra pawn. So black cannot play a slow move like this. Maybe this he can with e3, but yeah, black cannot tolerate this idea, queen e3, rook d4. So he decided to open up the position immediately. Yeah, back from the edge of the board. So the position has simplified quite a bit, and black is still a pawn down. But okay, this is a strong pawn that limits white, and this is potentially a very strong bishop. But black needs to play energetically, and this is what he does. In fact, after queen e3, attacking a7, Carlsen plays a very strong move now, a6. It's probably not that difficult to find. I mean, the pawn was attacked after all. But it's still a very nice concept because it nicely works together now. If white, for example, takes, queen takes, there's this sudden threat. And after king g1, there's rook d3. And black has got enormous activity. He will also get the a2 pawn. And black is probably even better here. Maybe objectively only very slightly, but in a practical game, this is, of course, very much preferable to be black. If white goes b6, there's rook d4, and simply picking up the pawn next with a good game for black. So Nakamura played a4, exchanged, and now Carlsen played rook d3. Yeah, here my computer recommends queen e5, but I'm not 100% sure what the big difference is. What is clear that maybe there is something, but it's not like completely clear cut how black is going to improve here. It's also a bit of matter of time. If white gets a bit of time to organize, then this isn't so dangerous at all. yeah, white tries to simplify the position, and it's quite difficult for black to avoid that. This knight d5 especially is of course the idea. Black has no good way to prevent this simplification. What he could, he played this, which is an instant draw. Maybe this was a bit more interesting, but it's also difficult to consider. Let's say b6. You need to calculate e3, and this is really strong now, intending rook d2 and an attack on g2. So queen e5 here probably was still somewhat better for black. Very complicated, of course. What's clear is he played e3, and this now is a relatively easy draw. Takes a3, takes b2. Yeah, and now white has got those two pawn weaknesses, and he will lose one of them in the game. White even picked up this pawn, but queen takes f5 secures the draw because the rook is attacked, and a move like this leads to nowhere. It's just a repetition. So this is
check.
This is what was played, and
Check.
it's working all nicely together. White now
Check.
could have played this, but you cannot take here because of the
Check.
back rank. Yeah, in the game after this exchange, Nakamura played h3 and draw was agreed. Yeah, maybe instead of this e3 move, queen e5 was the last opportunity to continue to fight in this game. I think a very nice concept here by Carlsen with b5 and d5, but I think Nakamura also defended nicely. Always have to keep in mind that Nakamura has got an absolutely atrocious score against Carlsen. He's got like 6 or 7 losses and never won a game. I mean, a classical time control game. Obviously, he won against him in blitz chess over the board and online. But in a classical time control game, Carlsen has won numerous times and never lost the game. In fact, in most of the time he wasn't. I don't think he ever was even worse. It was a very, very clear performance in the other games. All right, so next game. Let's look at who's first. Let's go Rajabov against John Ludwig Hammer. Yeah, the anti-Grunfeld. White has got a multitude of options now. Not having played d4 really gives him lots of ideas. Rajabov plays this line with g3. White here has all kinds of moves: queen a4, queen b3, queen c2, e4. It's really it's huge. Even h4 is not bad. E4. Okay, g3 was played simply intending to fianchetto, and we now get a position here after a couple of moves. We get a position that is usually reached in the symmetrical English, with c4, c5 being played earlier and then this development. Queen a4. This is actually a very typical move. The queen is maybe even intending to switch over here. Say d3, bishop h6. This can be an idea, or the queen can attack this pawn. In the game, queen d7 was played. Bit of a weird looking move, but probably it is still okay. Queen c4. Just intending to take it, and black covered. Yeah, this prevents b5. Black prepares it again, and now white went d4. So he basically decided to ignore this b5 idea. b5, queen d3. Yeah, rook d8, intensifying the pressure on the center. Rook d1, and now the queen stepped out of the d file. So let's take stock in this position, how it is, how this position should be assessed. I think white is slightly more comfortable. He's got the center, he's got this e4 idea, but the most important point is that this bishop f4 idea is very annoying. This rook is exposed, and those pawn moves have weakened numerous squares, so white can often play on these weaknesses on the queen side. Also the knight a6 is slightly off. We see that in the game. White managed to wreck this center now. So we have this typical Grunfeld center now. It was just delayed by a while, but in the process white managed to set up his pieces very nicely to support the center, while those two pieces are not really working together. Rook d6 and d5. Yeah, this now looks good for white. He got the bishop here, very nice. And now c4. This is a good idea. Intending this if possible, and also simply moving this pawn away from this attack by the bishop. It has a drawback, of course. This it just gives away this pawn, but probably it was relatively a good chance anyway. You need to activate your pieces. Queen d2, queen d7. This attacks to the bishop and the pawn. Bishop d4. Yeah, in fact this seems to be slightly inaccurate. The bishop to e3 was it seems much stronger. Let's examine why. If black now takes on h3, white can actually take b5. There's nothing threatening. So it is not easy to even make a move here. This pawn is of course hanging. What's the difference to the game? In the game he played this move, and now black could actually take, because if white would take now on b5, there's this point. Or I should make this arrow. The queen here is secured on the rook b1. Yeah, so white cannot take. So what is he supposed to do? He played queen a3, going for a double attack again, and now the queen retreated. And yeah, if we look at this, it's equal material. And what exactly is white's big advantage here? Played king to g2. Black exchanged, and here I think with the relatively simple move knight c7, black could have gotten a pretty solid position. It looks a bit passive because you are defending against the d pawn, but it's very difficult for white to make any headway here. Very important is the fact that the bishops here on d4 and g7 have been exchanged. If you just the general type of position, if you imagine it with the bishops on, there's always a bishop to f4 move attacking this rook, and this is not possible now. This rook on d6 cannot be attacked, as is also the case for the knight on c7. So black can basically just stay in this position and wait what white is coming up with. It's not easy at all. The computer actually assesses this as 0, 0, 0 and give it is completely equal. It really seems that in this position Rajabov needed to go bishop e3 to conserve his advantage. Okay, let's go ahead to the game. The problem is he played this move, didn't play knight to c7. I understand the idea. The idea is to let's put a couple of moves to get this setup on. So now all black's pieces attack the pawn, and he's trying to win this pawn. Maybe he even was ambitious here, trying to win the game. It's possible. I mean, if you win the d5 pawn, it would be very nice. The problem is that you're not really able to do it if you just think about this taking now. It's just an enormous enormous power on the d file here. Cannot take the pawn. Yeah, here's a very interesting position. Rook f4 is of course threatening queen d4, winning this rook. So black is somehow forced to react. If you play a slow move, let's say like this, there's also a queen move, maybe also queen e3. It's also possible. It's very annoying. This rook doesn't have a square, so black needs to sack now. In the game, he sacrificed on d5 with the c rook. In fact, here black had a very strong possibility, but it was very difficult to spot, especially if you consider that they didn't have much time. Black could have taken here, and this is a difference. The difference is that now here, after this, black can take with the queen, and this is a very funny funny exchange sack. Where is this rook now supposed to go? It's really nice. If you go somewhere here, black just grabs this and even plays on for a win. It's got 2 pawns. This is a weakness, and I don't really see how black should ever lose it. So he's the only one trying to do at least something in the position. So let's go here. And now black's got the very strong idea g5. He intends to play f6, king g6, and trap this rook. The rook doesn't have any squares. It's really funny. In a practical game, I would easily prefer black here. Maybe he's really better. It's quite a funny position. You also cannot go here, of course, because of this. Of course, white can get out of this this checking possibility, but it's still a trapped rook. How do you ever get it out? If you go here, just king here, and it's trapped. Just funny, funny situation. I'm not sure at all. I think black is more comfortable here. However, he took with this rook, and now you don't get the queen trade in. Yeah, this was the problem. And now in this position, black cannot avoid that that more pieces are exchanged, and this is really just lost.
Check.
Getting out of the diagonal. Yeah, and now white is trying to realize his extra exchange. Can go rook e5, attacking the b5 pawn. Yeah, here's another weakness. Combining this idea, and this is not defensible.
Check.
Yeah, quite nice. Threatening queen g7 mate.
Check.
And after this, black has no check, so it's really mate next move with queen g7 mate. Yeah, in this position black has missed really a golden opportunity with the other exchange sack. But this is really something that you can easily tell afterwards. With 3 minutes on the clock for 8 moves, it's not easy at all to spot that.
Check.
Here this rook is in this troublesome spot. Is tricky. Maybe white even needs to go here, and rook f3 is dubious. Don't know. But this was a very good opportunity for John Ludwig here to get a good game at the end. But he was in huge trouble before, so a bit of a game of missed opportunities. At the end, Rajabov was converting his extra exchange. And this means that Hammer is on 0 points out of 3 games, so this is becoming a bit of a nightmare. Of course, he was the big outsider before, so before the tournament he certainly was aware that he would probably lose a number of games, but starting with 0 points is obviously bad. Okay, next game, let's check what the world champion did. Anand against Topalov. We have a Sicilian knight off. It's good to see an open Sicilian once in a while, instead of the bishop b5 and c3 and various slow Sicilians. Okay, we've got an English attack characterized by this f3 and g4 setup. Yeah, this position has been played, I don't know, numerous times, talking about hundreds of games. It's quite funny though, some things that are connected to this game. Let me pull at my notes. Oh, yeah, I need my notes here. Cannot do this from memory. b5, no, preparing the typical counterplay. Rook g1, no, supports this. Knight b6. Yeah, this takes the a4 square under control, so b4 would actually force the knight back or on some very unfortunate square. This is why knight a5 is played. The idea is that knight c6 is a serious idea. A move like this is answered by knight c6. This is the point. Yeah, and now black is in trouble. Something like this is just a pawn up. Yeah, black needs to cover this square, so rook c8 is a good move. g5, knight h5, king to b1. Yeah, and now some fun facts about about this. 4 years ago, this position was reached in the game Anand against Karyakin in Nice, France. This is probably one of those Melody Amber tournaments, those combined rapid and blindfold tournaments that have been organized for a number of years. Unfortunately, they don't exist anymore as the main sponsor has stopped to do that. Yeah, so Anand had this on the board as white before, and Karyakin played the move g6 in this position. Yeah, it's a useful move, covering the knight, preparing, giving some air for the king, and maybe at some point you can put the bishop there. The important thing is there is a white game by Vichy, and so Topalov, with some justification, maybe could have expected this to happen. He played knight to f4, however. I mean, in this position he played knight to f4. Yeah, what's the idea of this move? Anand replies with a3. Yeah, of course you always need to check the capture. Yeah, this looks good at first sight, but then if you look at it a bit deeper, then you recognize that knight a4 is really a problem. Look at this. And white gets completely destroyed. Yeah, I cannot take it. You can take on f4, but you, I mean, the first time, you cannot do this move. You need to play something else. But in fact, Anand didn't capture it. Only played a3, which is just a good move. It stops b4, gives some room here for the king. Of course, at the moment it is covered, but it's simply an all-around useful move to play. g6, and now the second fun fact. In this position, the move queen c7 was played in fact just a couple of months ago in January in Wijk, the traditional Wijk aan Zee tournament, and it was played in the game Lecco with white against Anand. So Anand has played this as black before. So it's one of those curious main lines that players tend to play with both sides. So it's just a good, nicely balanced, dynamic position that you can play with both sides. Okay, Topalov played g6, which is sort of a mixture of ideas. It's a typical move. h4 to cover the pawn. Of course, if black would have taken this, you need to check it. There's this possibility, and this was hanging. So, but now h4. It's just a good supporting move. Queen c7, and now we're at the point where white needs to choose how to continue. Anand now decides on a very concrete way to play, and I think it's probably a good one, because it leads to a position type where you can hardly lose, but where you can certainly try for more. He took on f4 and now played knight to d5. If you look at this, at first you recognize that there's always this pressure on c2, but it's nothing serious. After this and this, white can actually take on d5. This is
check.
Just a check. Black doesn't have any serious attack here, so everything's nicely covered. So black of course doesn't take on c2, but takes on a5. And what is this position now? In fact, this type of position comes up relatively frequently in this variation. White is temporarily a pawn down. He very often gets the f4 pawn back, and white has very nicely centralized queen on d5, and the bishop will get a very good position on d3, where it covers the weakness on c2. Not a weakness, but c2 is a point where black of course likes to attack on the c file, and the bishop covers this nicely. In addition, white has got this attacking ideas. It's not easy to checkmate black, of course, with the bishop here that can also go to g7 later. First of all, though, white is going to get the pawn back. Yep, I think this is just a slightly better position for white. It's not dramatic, probably, but given the choice, I think everybody would choose to play white. Got this d5 pawn to to attack, and it's not so clear what black is doing. He activated his queen, which is a good move actually. c3, rook d8, queen c2. Yeah, and now queen g3 was played. It is important to note that queen trade, if you
Check.
to do that, is really very one-sided. In the long run, after f4 and bishop g2, this pawn will fall, and the problem is that those queenside pawns are really weak. It would be slightly different if those pawns weren't on a6 and b5, but this kind of setup looks very advantageous for white. Also because the king is near the pawns. Oops, why can I not draw this arrow? Is near the pawns, can sometimes invade on the queen side. So black shouldn't really trade queens now. He didn't. He played this well. Queen g3 and now f4. Yeah, I think here, exactly here, Topalov makes a mistake, but it's not easy at all. I think it's very simple afterwards to go quickly through those games and switch on a computer that can give you rather good evaluation of all positions. Sometimes they still make mistakes, but usually they simply tell you the right moves. He played bishop to d6, but he actually should have taken h4. It looks really risky. I can understand that he didn't do that. The problem is queen e2, attacking the bishop. So black needs to react to this, probably cover it. And then after queen f3, yeah, you can count the number of squares that this queen has. It's not much. But black has got the good move h5, and this seems to make sure that it's an okay position. White, of course, is not in any danger. He can always take d5, for example. This is probably what black should have done. He played bishop b6, and this has a huge drawback. The problem is, look at this, bishop g2, bishop f4, this was the idea, bishop d5. Yeah, and now we've got this bishop takes f7 check idea, and black needs to react to that. King g7, and now queen to e4, and this is very strong. It's such a nice centralization. It's also attacking this bishop, and black now has a really hard time to defend this position. It's probably over already. I don't think that you can save this against best play. It's also such a dominating bishop. If you look at this, especially of course towards the king side. Yeah, queen e3 played, and now very strong. Just retreating the queen, but intending moves like rook 1 to d3, and this really shows that those two pieces are very tied up in some very unlucky manner. Yeah, defending f7, and now Alan played rook 1 to d3. He had a very strong alternative actually with queen f1 attacking the bishop. The problem is that there's also this idea, and if black goes here, this wins rather easily. Queen f1 was even stronger, but this is strong enough. It's not in doubt that white is very much better. Queen e5. He also could have tried to enter white's camp even more with queen f2, but there's queen e4. Very powerful centralization, attacking the bishop, getting this idea into play. If the bishop would move away from covering the 5 square, and this is in fact very good for white, probably winning if you look at this. Yeah, note that this isn't so great, because at the end the d5, yeah, the bishop is hanging. Oh, Press the wrong button here. Okay. But I wanted to show this. If black plays this, yeah, we had this line. Yeah, but this is strong. Again, attacking this. Very nice point. Yeah, now the queen is attacked, the rook is attacked, and the queen has no square where it can still attack the E2 rook, so it's just an extra exchange. Or black needs to sacrifice the queen here, which should be winning relatively easily for white. He's got this potential pawn, as pawn. Yeah, in the game he played queen to E5. Queen f3, attacking. Bishop h2. Yeah, and now white has more than one strong move, but this was strong. It's a funny idea. If black takes on d4, there's queen f7.
Checkmate.
So what is black supposed to do? There's all kinds of stuff hanging. Rook d7 hanging and so on. It's simply lost. He played queen e7, rook to e4, attacking the queen, and black now sacrificed the queen. There's no way to move it. If you look at this,
check, check.
Of course not. This is a bit stronger. And checkmate. Okay, so in the game he sacrificed the queen. And it's just a matter of relatively simple technique. Yeah, here black resigned. It's not possible anymore to keep this pawn or in any way keep this position together. It's not clear what black is even going to play here. If you move the bishop, there's queen f7. Cannot move the rook or this rook. It's just lost, and Topalov here resigned. A very nice victory by Vishy, I think. He went for a position which is simply quite one-sided, and where black has a hard time to ever do something active, and then Topalov it seems misjudged this move bishop to d6, but it's difficult to play. You've got this queen bit cut off, and you have a position where a small misstep can easily cost you the game in very quickly. Yeah, nice win for Arnold. Okay, only one game left, and this is Karjakin against Wang Hao. Karjakin won the first two games, so he's off with a great start, and now he's got white in the third round. Let's see what happens. Yeah, and we got this line of the Sicilian, which is sometimes called the classical variation. It doesn't have such a clear-cut name. It's usually called the classical. This was very popular in the 1990s. Kramnik played it very often as black. He was a very successful and good Sicilian player before he switched to the more solid openings with 1e5 for the match against Kasparov. Of course, this opening for black allows two different systems. White can play this bishop c4 move. This is the Sozin variation, which was of course the favorite of Bobby Fischer's, or bishop g5, the Richter Rouser, and this is nowadays the most common move. e6, queen d2, and here there's a multitude of possible lines. This, in fact, what Wang Hao played was very popular in the 90s, as mentioned, exactly this variation, and it has fallen out of fashion in recent years simply because it is believed that black does not have so good counterplay. Maybe a big specialist would disagree, but this is only what I know about the line. We see that here white has advanced in the center and uses this pin. The fun thing is that black can just play here because white isn't threatening really, because this bishop is hanging with jack. So black has got this tactical idea to make sure that he's not losing material. Yeah, white now retreats. Knight hangs. Yeah, note that the bishop attacks the knight. The queen, of course. Queen c5 takes. Yeah, and this was exactly the position that has been discussed numerous times in the 1990s, and I always believed that the theoretical conclusion was that white is enjoying a very one-sided type of edge here. He's got two bishops. He's got this idea, putting a bishop on d6, and he's got 3 against 2, which in a possible endgame can be a substantial asset. If we look at the game, rook e1, knight b6, so all looks normal if you ask me. Yeah, bishop a4. Okay, this provokes b3, but it's not a terrible move anyway. Queen c5, attacking this pawn. Okay. If you look at this position, if black now would retreat, yeah, let's say here. Yeah, how to assess this position? I think it's pretty easy. White is just substantially better with the 2 bishops and a very nice endgame inside. You just need to get rid of the queens and it will be a very one-sided affair. I don't really understand why Wang Hao went for this line. I mean, this the rouser in general is certainly playable for black, but this line is always, as far as I know, this reputation of being somewhat passive and uninspiring. Of course, this kind of position black can try to defend and maybe hold, but why go for that? It's simply not attractive to play. In the game, however, in this position, now Wang Hao played the move rook to d4. Yeah, okay. Note that the bishop is hanging, and he's playing rook d4, counter-attacking the queen. Here, Karjakin had a very strong possibility, but this is one of those moves that the computer points out to you, and you think, okay, this is easy, I would have done that, but it's not so easy, in fact. Here, he could have really won the game with queen f2. The idea is to pin this rook. The bishop is still attacked, and the fun point is that, for example, after rook d8, there's this bishop c1 move, so rook d1 isn't a check anymore, and this now is simply deadly for black. Look at this, you can retreat the bishop, and white will just simply improve his position with, let's say here, intending this or intending to pin again, and this is over. Cannot defend this position. f6 is an idea like this, but white also has this idea. It's not bad at all. The queen has no way to keep the rook defended, so you need to give up the exchange, and you have zero compensation. A general problem of this structure, regardless of the fact that rook d4 is blundering the game away, that this knight has no squares. It's simply dominated by the pawns, and also the bishop is not great. You can put it on c6, but it's very often just pointing into thin air. Yeah, okay, this is what Karjakin played. Well, as mentioned, this was probably winning, but it's not like easy to see. If black drops back, there's this move. Can also easily overlook that idea, and black is again just losing. Yeah, he played bishop e3, which in fact after this leads to an endgame. That is also a bit of a torture for black. 3 against 2 for a possible pass pawn and the bishop pair. The only slight drawback of white's position is the pawn on e5, which is a bit isolated, but if you imagine a bishop on d6 is no problem, it's covered. So in the game, in fact, it went downhill really quickly. This rook is also in a spot of worry. Yeah, exchange it. I'm sorry. And now it's just difficult. The pawns are coming. Frankly speaking, I think against a good technical play, it is almost lost now. He played some pseudo-active moves on the king side, but in fact it just weakens. White pushes the pawns. There's not much black can do about that. So white's idea is simply to create a passed pawn in the long run. Black is basically a pawn down because of this backward f pawn. He in fact tried to advance it, but after taking, he
check.
After this, he realized that there's rook e5 to h5, and it's not there's nothing to do against that. Black of course cannot take here because of rook f1 winning the bishop. So there's simply no defense to rook e5, h5. Yeah, a very convincing win by Karjakin. He could have done this queen f2 move, which even wins quicker, but it's very computerish. This move, what he did was perfectly okay for a human. So Karjakin, 3 out of 3, starting with 100%, great start. And yeah, it now already gets a bit tricky for Carlsen to try to win on his home turf. He's already 1.5 points behind. He played 3 draws, and this is getting difficult. Probably he needs to beat Karjakin to have any sort of chance. I'm not sure. I don't have it in front of me now when they play, which round and which color. But yeah, 3 out of 3 is a great start for the young. Yeah, now he's Russian. He switched federations a couple of years ago. For the still young Russian, you feel like he's yeah, still he's around forever, but he's still very young, only 23 years old. Maybe only 22. I'm not sure. He's the same, born in the same year as Carlsen, 1990. Yeah, thanks for watching this video. Very nice fighting round again. 3 wins, just as the rounds before. We have got more decisive games than draws in this tournament. Yeah, and I'll be back with further coverage for round 4. I'm not sure if it is on Saturday actually. They have 2 rest days, I think. Yeah, well, okay. The round, whatever the date is, tomorrow or on Saturday or Sunday, I'll cover round 4 as well. Yeah, let's talk then. Bye.